The movie opens with a little sixth grader, Asuna Wates, trying to hear the train vibrations by putting her ears on the train tracks. After class, she runs to her secret hideout where she stakes her snake pile. She grabs her radio and climbs to the top of a cliff. Munching on her lunch for the day, Asuna tunes in different frequencies when she suddenly hears a mysterious tune. It sounds like a boy humming a hauntingly beautiful melody. Since her father passed away, Asuna has been pressured to mature quickly while her mother, a nurse, works long shifts in a hospital. Asuna, who has a pet cat named Mimi with peculiar red markings on her fur, spends her lonely days in the hideout. After the sun sets, Asuna returns to an empty home. She does the chores and prepares her and Mimi's dinner. The next day, Asuna's head teacher announces that Asuna once again scored the highest in her class. Her teacher warns about a bear-like creature that has been attacking people near their village. After school hours, she once again does the chores around the house, buys and cooks rice, cleans the bathhouse and heads towards her hideout. As she crosses the bridge to get to her hideout, a terrifying creature spots her. Asuna freezes in fear at the sight of the hideous creature. A mystery boy named Shun intervenes and saves her. As the creature advances towards Shun, his heart seems to fall out from his chest. Shun lures the creature with his crystal necklace. He suffers a wound after fighting the creature. As the creature comes closer, Asuna's necklace glows, decapitating the creature in the process. Shun apologizes to Asuna for putting her in such a dangerous situation. He carries her in his arms and jumps off the bridge. Asuna wakes up near the cliff. Shun is relieved to see Asuna is okay. As he leaves, he warns Asuna to not come to the mountain anymore. Asuna notices Mimi following him in the dark. Next day, Asuna misses her school and heads over to the hideout. The detectives locate the creature under the bridge. They notice something very different about the carcass of the creature. It had plants growing out of it and crystals covering its body as well. Meanwhile, Shun along with Mimi has been waiting for Asuna. While introducing each other, Asuna takes the time to tend to Shun's wounds. She shows him her radio. Shun is surprised to see a similar stone he possesses in Asuna's radio device, which she uses to tune in different frequencies. Shun informs Asuna that he is from the nation of Agartha and that he has come here in search of something. After that, he blesses Asuna by kissing her on the forehead. Asuna quickly departs and promises to return the next day. Shun, who is now by himself, looks at the stars before falling to his death off a cliff. Asuna learns from her mother the following morning that a boy was discovered dead in the river, but she doesn't think it's Shun. For the next few days, she goes to the cliff in hopes of meeting Shun, but he never shows up. Mr. Murasaki is a temporary teacher who is filling in for the head teacher. Asuna is drawn to his lecture about a book that talks about Agartha, the land of the dead. This piques her interest, and she tries to meet Mr. Murasaki after school. However, this day Mr. Murasaki left early. She decides to visit his house. Mr. Murasaki invites Asuna in and offers her some coffee. He knows that Asuna was the one who met Shun, the boy from Agartha. Mr. Murasaki hands her a book that talks about the bear-like creature, Quetzalcoatl, also called the gatekeepers of Agartha. Murasaki explains that once upon a time, when humanity was young, it required the guidance of Quetzalcoatls, keepers of the dead, until humans matured and no longer required them. They went underground, accompanied by a few humans. After spending hours at Mr. Murasaki's place, learning about Agartha, Asuna returns home. On her way back, she notices Mimi and follows her. Asuna returns to her hideout to find another mysterious boy, Shin, who resembles Shun standing on the ledge. Shin tells Asuna to forget whatever she knows about Shun. Suddenly, a group of armed men known as the Archangels appears and attacks both of them. They demand to get the stone called Clavis. Shin takes Asuna's hand, and they both make a run from the troops. When the cave's entrance is bombed, the mysterious boy hides in the underground entrance with Asuna, and the two continue deeper into the cave. The two come across a Quetzalcoatl that appears to have lost its physical senses and attacks the boy. He refuses to kill the gatekeepers, so he hands over his clavis to Asuna and fights back. The Archangels step in and kill the gatekeeper, even though it's said to be an extinct species. The Archangel commander captures Asuna and opens a portal to Agartha using the clavis. The commander and Asuna are the first to enter the gateway, followed by the boy. The commander reveals himself to be Murasaki once inside, and the boy reveals himself to be Shin, Shun's younger brother. Murasaki tells Shin that all he wants is to resurrect his late wife. Shin tells Asuna about his mission and departs from Asuna and Murasaki. Murasaki tells Asuna that she is free to leave, but she chooses to accompany him. They both enter the realm through an underwater portal. They travel to the Gate of Life and Death, which can bring people's souls back from the dead, along with Mimi, who had snuck inside Asuna's backpack. Shin is informed that he failed his mission to retrieve the clavis because Asuna unknowingly returned with a fragment of one. As Asuna and Murasaki continue their journey, Asuna feels like she is with her father. Along the way, both Asuna and Murasaki have flashbacks of their life with their precious ones. Shin returns to the ship to prevent Asuna and Murasaki from wreaking havoc in Agartha. Asuna is kidnapped along the way by a race of monsters known as the Izoku. She awakens in a confined space and meets a young girl named Mana. They both attempt to flee but fail to escape. The day darkens and the Izoku appear, but they can only move in the shadows. During their escape attempt, they come across Shin, who assists them but is injured by an Izoku during the escape. Murasaki, with the assistance of Mimi, locates Asuna and Mana down the river, as well as Shin. Shin makes an attempt to retrieve Asuna's clavis crystal fragment. He is, however, too weak to fight, and Murasaki easily defeats him. While Mana leads them to her village, Asuna persuades Murasaki to accompany them. The villagers are initially hesitant to assist the top dwellers, but the village elder persuades the guards to let them in. The elder allows them to stay in the village for one night because they have brought Mana back, but they are not allowed to stay longer because top dwellers always bring bad luck to Agartha. Meanwhile, Asuna visits Shin, but he tells her to leave him alone. Elder tells them how the top dwellers tried to steal the wealth and knowledge of Agartha, so the elders together sealed the gate with clavis. The following morning, Asuna and Murasaki set out from Amara by boat, but Mibi changed her mind. Later, when Shin awakens, he discovers that Mibi has passed away. Despite Shin's disapproval, Mana and the elder then proceed to sacrifice Mibi's body to an ancient Quetzalcoatl. Shin chooses to ride after the villagers as they ride out to be killed in order to protect Asuna. As Murasaki and Asuna approach a sheer cliff, the villagers assault them, but Shin intervenes to save them. Asuna tries to descend, but is unable due to her fear, and Murasaki moves on after exchanging his gun for her clavis shard and scolding her to return to the surface. Shin is now engaged in battle with the villagers and on the verge of death when they become aware that the clavis crystal has arrived at the Gate of Life and Death. Shin is left alone, having betrayed his nation, to roam aimlessly. Asuna wanders aimlessly and asks herself why she came to Agartha, as she complies with Murasaki's orders to stay under the water throughout the night due to the Azoku. She eventually realizes that she came to Agartha because she was lonely. She is attacked by the Izoku when the water runs out, but Shin saves her once more. Upon witnessing the arc of life descending, the two go back to the ledge. A dying Quetzalcoatl is encountered by them. The Quetzalcoatl sings its song before dying to send all its memories into the world. Asuna now realizes that the last song she heard in her world was Shun's song before he died. The Quetzalcoatl offers to take them to the cliff's base. They both find and enter the Gate of Life and Death at the bottom of the cliff. Murasaki has already wished for his late wife Lisa's soul to return, but her soul requires a vessel. Murasaki tells Asuna she shouldn't have come, and she is soon possessed by the soul of Murasaki's wife. However, this is insufficient. Murasaki must also pay with the loss of an eye. Shin destroys the clavis crystal to free Asuna, despite Murasaki holding a knife to his throat. After a brief reunion with Mimi and Shun, breaking the clavis returns Azuna's soul to her body. Before leaving Azuna's body, Lisa advises Murasaki to find happiness without her. Asuna has returned to her normal self, but Murasaki is devastated and requests that Shin kill him. Shin tells Murasaki that carrying the burden of a deceased loved one is humanity's curse, and encourages him to live. Asuna returns to the surface, waving goodbye to Shin and Murasaki, who have chosen to remain behind. The film concludes with an older Asuna gazing out her window at the cliff face where she met Shun and Shin. She then kisses her mother goodbye and rushes to her graduation ceremony. If you enjoyed this recap, check out the next episode.